What's up, Ursuline fans? Anthony Romo, glad to be joined with the head football coach of the Ursuline Fighting Irish, Dan Reardon. Coach, thanks for joining us for another week here at the
Yeah,
Golden Dawn.
absolutely.
So, before we get into this week's matchup with Villa St. Joe's, let's touch a little bit on last week's matchup against St. Vincent St. Mary's. Unfortunate defeat, 35-28, but you definitely can say coming out of that game, that's a tough Division II opponent,
Yeah,
and they have arguably one of the toughest schedules in the state. Ending the year, they play Hoban this week. They play Walsh Jesuit. So, like you, they play a very tough schedule each year. And we were talking about this on the broadcast. They didn't St. V's didn't necessarily have the biggest line, but their secondary was a bunch of grown men out there. They had some big kids out there. That was definitely a great experience builder for you guys to play a team like that.
yeah. I'll tell you, they're a big athletic football team. Very physical up front. They're run the ball downhill and try to wear you out as the game goes on, and give them a lot of credit. They're very well coached, good football team, very physical. The one that their defensive tackle number 71, really good football player, and we knew that. We played against him last year, obviously, but my understanding is he's one of the favorites for the Division I state heavyweight
Oh
wrestling
well.
title. He's a contender for that, and just a bunch of good football players, and give them a lot of credit. Proud of our guys. We were, we're winning the game with just under 5 minutes to play, and couldn't get a stop, and then we're in a 2 minute situation,
hmm
throw a pick six, and yet we still go down and score and have a chance to kick an onside and potentially have a chance to win it. But proud of how our kids battled, but ultimately fell a little bit short.
And I'll tell you what, I've gained a lot of respect for your quarterback Jack Erickson this year. I know he's here. He's sitting a
Yep,
couple booths down. Man, has he taken some hits this year, but he stands in there after every hit. He'll
he
get right
does.
back up and he'll just get his head straight and go right to the next play. Just talk about his toughness on the field for you guys.
Yeah, Jack's a great competitor, first and foremost, but he has a lot of grit, and you see that he's a kid that if it's third and short, fourth and short, yeah, and there's a timeout, a stoppage in play or whatever, he's begging for the ball, and he's not the biggest guy, but he runs with a lot of attitude, and he's willing to lower his shoulder when necessary, and we didn't do a great job protecting him last week. And again, credit St. V's that they were good up front, and we got to do a better job protecting him. But one thing about Jack, he keeps getting up and keeps playing and keeps competing, and that's one of his great attributes.
And then you talk about grit.
Yep.
I'm sure that's something that you really want your team to symbolize as a whole is grit.
Yeah.
You want, I mean, this is a Youngstown team. You guys have shown that you represent Youngstown in the right way. Is that something that guys have to learn quick that no game's going to be easy. You guys just have to keep getting up and attacking?
Yeah, I think our older guys know that, obviously, because we play a lot of really good football teams every year, and so our older guys have been through it. The younger guys find out quickly, and on the freshman level or JV level, that you have to show up every single week, and you have to show up ready to play. And if not, everybody on our schedule is good enough to humble you. And but getting back to you know the thing that I'm proud about over the past couple of years is that our kids keep playing, and whether we're down by a lot of scores, or maybe down by one score with less than a minute to go or whatever, they keep playing and they believe they have a chance to win. And we've shown that a number of times, and to me that's something really to be proud of as a coach, because I've been around a lot of football teams as a player, as a coach, as an assistant, as a head coach over the years. That's not an easy thing to do. And just having that belief that you have a chance to win. If you keep playing, you're going to get some breaks and something good's going to happen. And again, last year we did a number of times. This year so far, we've had a number of one score games and found a way to win. And we've dropped a couple also, but it wasn't for lack of just belief and that attitude of something good's going to happen if we just keep staying the course.
And you talk about having a lot of those one score games. And I think that you would know this better than anyone else because you've coached so many playoff games during your career at various schools that you've coached
Yep.
at. You see a lot of games in a lot of weeks that end in blowouts, but a lot of your guys' games are close because you play such tough competitors. Would you say that not necessarily the wins and the losses per se, but how competitive the games are really what get you ready for playoff time?
Oh yeah, for sure. And we always feel, whether 2 years ago, last year, our regular season prepares us for the playoffs, and if you're able to weather the storm with the schedule that we put together year in and year out, that we're going to have a chance to be successful once the playoffs come around. And we're going to see really good competition in the playoffs as well. And same thing, you got to show up every
Of
night. But
course.
I think if you look at our schedule, I think it prepares you better than most teams. And um, we don't have very many gimmies on our schedule, and again, you have to show up every night, and just like you do in the playoffs. So I think our kids may be a little bit more used to that than some teams. And that's no disrespect. It's
Of
just
course. No, no, no.
we're not tied into a big league like some schools are. And the nature of having a big league with 7 or 8 teams is there's going to be 3 or 4 down teams. There's going to be 2 or 3 good teams, and that's just how it goes. And it's a cyclical thing, generally speaking. We have a small league. We have to get a lot of non-conference opponents as a result, and because of that, particularly in the second half of the year, there's not a bunch of options out there for teams that aren't
Hmm.
tied up in league play. So, you end up playing a lot of independents, and like St. Joe's and St. V's is in a smaller league, and they've been a historic team for us. We played them, over the years as often as anybody, probably other than Cardinal Mooney. So, there's a lot of teams like that on our schedule.
So now looking forward to this week, you guys will travel up to Baldwin Wallace
Yep.
to face off with the Villa Angeles St. Joseph Vikings. Before we get into the opponent or the game itself, it has to be pretty cool for you guys to go be able to play at another college stadium
Yeah.
in Baldwin Wallace.
Yeah, so we're excited. One of our real good players from a couple years ago, Ryan Pegues, plays for BW, so we're gonna have a chance to see him, and he's excited that we're playing on his new home field, and so we'll see him on Friday. And I've been up there a handful of times. Not too many kids on our team have been on that campus though, so they have a really nice stadium, and great facilities. Division 3 football right next door to the Cleveland Browns training facility, and they have a lot of benefits. Being right there in Berea next to the Browns, and really good program, and we're excited to go up there.
And you got to say that it kind of helps out as a motivational boost for you guys that they can see that a guy that wore the same Ursuline
Yep.
green and gold that you guys are going to wear Friday night, it has to be a big motivational boost to show them that, hey, look where someone from where I'm playing is playing now.
Yeah.
It shows them that there's a chance at the next level.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we have a number of seniors who are going to go on and continue their career, and so anytime they can be on a college campus, we try to get them there, whether it's a camp or recruiting trip, or playing at BW this weekend. And that's something that it's a big part of our program, and we try to feature our guys and get them as much recognition as they can, if they make the decision to continue their career at the next level.
So Villa Angeles St. Joe's, another very good opponent this week. Before we get into this week's matchup, you guys have had some high pressure matchups with them the last 2 years. Two
Yeah.
years ago, beat them in the playoffs,
Yep.
and then last year probably put a lot of pressure on your shoulder. A couple sleepless nights because you guys had a game canceled and you had to put them
Yeah.
on the schedule late in the week. I mean, they defeated you guys 46-28. When you play a team 2 years in a row like that you may not be as used to as other teams around here, do you look at any of the film from last year? Or do you just look at their film from this year?
No, we'll look at historic film as well, and especially it's the same coaching staff as last year, so there definitely are a lot of similarities. Everybody has a little nuance here or there, new wrinkles from year to year, but their schedule this year has been a bit different.
Hmm.
That they had a really good opener in Hamilton Baden, who's number 1 ranked team in Division 3, opening night, and they played a handful of teams not having great years, and so you look at the film and it's a little bit skewed because they're not playing a very good opponent. Last week they played Bishop Hartley from
Yeah,
Columbus, who we're
that was a
familiar
good game.
with. Yeah, good game. Came down to the wire. They won the game. Um, so long story short, we didn't have it. So Bishop Hartley wasn't a great film for us because what they do offensively is dramatically different than what we do.
Hmm.
So it wasn't great from a scouting standpoint, but it was good from a personnel standpoint because we saw them playing a quality opponent. Um, so we had to go back to last year. Long answer to a short question. We had to go back to last year to get a better feel for how they're going to adjust to formations and so on and so forth.
And so you can kind of say that this week's matchup is kind of like last week's in the sense that St. V's, they started off the year with Glenville on opening night, like
Yep.
Villangela St. Joe's,
Yep.
were defeated, but they've been hot
Yep.
ever since. They've been winning games at a rapid pace.
Yep.
And that's a team that you look into the computer ratings and the region and stuff. Like you said, some of the teams they've played have not had great records, so they're kind of going to come into this game. This is a big game for them because they
sure.
have to win
Yeah.
this game to bring
Yeah.
up some spots on the ranking. So
Yeah,
you guys
for
are
sure.
definitely going to have to be ready.
Yeah, for sure. And I know they're going to be motivated. They're talented. Very similar to St. V's in a number of ways. Big athletic skill players, good up front. They're downhill running the ball football team. A lot of two-back plays, which, nowadays that's a little bit unconventional.
Yeah.
Conventional football has turned to be kind of an outlier now. So, defenses nowadays are built, generally speaking, to stop spread teams because so many teams play spread formations. And so sometimes St. V's two back, St. Joe's two back, you have to do a little bit of, some different things because you don't see that necessarily week to week. So, there's a number of challenges and, but it starts with they're a talented team that's well coached.
So VASJ last year, they kind of gashed you guys in the run game. They had 3 different guys that got over 100 yards on the ground. But you kind of have to be pleased that you return a lot of your starters on the line both ways from last year. So those are guys that are familiar with the team, and I'm sure that they know better than anyone else what to expect down in the trenches.
Yeah, and last year it was such a crazy week, and we found out late that our game was canceled, and then within 24 hours we're able to get a game together, and I remember calling the captains into our office, to the athletic office, and me and John DeSantis talked to them and said, hey, it's we're talking about 48 hours from now kicking off. Do you want to do it? And they, all of them unanimously said yes. And you're quickly trying to put a game plan together and scour through film and so it was just a weird week. And that said, it was a close football game for 3 quarters. They pulled away in the fourth, end of the third and into the fourth quarter. And, it was one of those games that there was a chance we were going to play them in the playoffs. I know our kids were very motivated to have another shot at them. And, I would have been interested to see how that would have went. Didn't work out. But, so I guess this is kind of our second shot.
Of course, I mean, that was pretty okay. You guys, it worked out pretty well for you guys in the playoffs last year, going all the way to state
we had to play
championship.
Glenville instead.
Yeah, and that was
somehow we found a way to win.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we deserved to.
Yeah, that was.
But we found a way. So.
And that Glenville team this year obviously returned a lot of guys from last year, and they're one of the most talented teams in the state.
Yep.
But so these last few weeks, going back to Cheney and then St. V's, a lot of hard hits. There's a lot of hitting going on. Do you take into fact any soreness? Does that kind of change your weekly game plan leading up to the game?
Yeah, so our varsity lifts Saturday morning when our JVs are going to play a game, and we adjust how we're lifting on Saturdays based on how physical the game was and just kind of the stretch. I mean, it's not necessarily a one-night decision. It's, as you made reference, the Cheney game was physical, St. V's was physical, the Warren Harding game was physical. So we've had, three physical football games in a row, and with that in mind, you do adjust a little bit. We adjust the volume of hitting in practice. We adjust the volume of, the length of practice when necessary. And, at this point in time, we're in week 8 and, it seems like just yesterday we were kicking off against Brookfield. So it goes so fast, but we always taper down as the season goes on, and it becomes more mental, less physical as the season goes on. But that said, you do have to get the physical work in as well. And, you have to go through run fits and everything and know exactly where it's going to be. But you do definitely adjust the volume.
And so I'll ask you this too, Coach. So obviously starting off the year, it's always very hot. And then, of course, you want to be there week 15, week 16, the end of the year where it's a little bit chilly. This is by far going to be the coldest game you guys have had so far here this season. It's going to be chilly Friday night. When you're out there on the sidelines, do you even feel the weather at all? Or are you so into the game? Are you more of a warm weather coach or a cold weather?
So I pretty much wear the same thing regardless of the weather.
Okay.
Usually once the game kicks off, I'm focused on what's going on the field, and it takes a lot to get me out of my shorts and into long pants.
Okay.
So it's gonna be pretty cold. So I honestly I didn't even look at the weather report. So
Well,
it's gonna be chilly. There you go.
there we
All
go.
right. So
And last week, St. V's did a good job of neutralizing Christian Lynch. He's had so many big
Yep.
games this season. He only had, I believe, 22 carries for 68 yards. I know it
Yep.
was just over about 2.5 yards per carry. Heading into this week, obviously you got to be expecting a big game from Christian, who that game kind of they stabilized him a little bit, and you got to think that
Yeah.
coming into this week, he's really going to want to bust through.
Well, and the thing with that, it's not just Christian. I mean,
It's everyone.
our offensive line needs to play better, and that enables him to get to the second level. And I think our offensive line probably played their worst game of the year
Okay.
the other night, and I think that's what they would tell you if you asked them. But we had it wasn't five guys playing bad. It was one guy making a mistake this play, which cost us, and things like that. And we're normally more consistent up front than what we showed the other night. We're going to clean that up. That makes Christian better. And then, Christian, obviously, I know he's motivated to play better, because
Just naturally.
Yeah, he didn't play perfect either, but it was not just Christian. It was not just the O-line.
Okay.
It all works in tandem.
And then, so one more thing, looking back to last game, looking forward to this week. Your secondary play really kept you guys in that in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Mark Manning had interception. I believe DC Farrell
yep.
had an interception as well on a jump ball.
Yep.
Towards the end zone. VASJ, another team that is capable of doing things a lot of different ways coming at you. You have to be pretty proud so far up to this point in the season of the way that your secondary has played, because they've faced a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
You look at Farrell, Harding, whoever it may be, they faced a lot of athletes on the outside.
Yeah, I think our guys have held up really well. I don't know what our total number of interceptions is right now, but I know it's up from a year ago. They played well this year, and far from perfect, like I always say that. But Mark's having a good year. Will Burney, DC, Luke Kolars, Landon Charles, and those five guys. Landon's kind of our run-stopping safety. Luke's our center field guy. He has a handful of picks as a freshman, really doing a great job. DC, Will, and Mark are just, they're so steady on both sides of the ball. And, we're not the team we are without those guys, both at receiver and at defensive back. So, proud of those guys. A bunch of those guys have played a lot of reps for us over the years. We have the one real young guy, but they're playing well, and that gives us a chance.
And you were talking about Luke a little bit. He was in a lot of high-pressure situations last week, especially against St. V's. Talk about a young guy like him going out on the field. It showed that you had a lot of trust in him to play in big situations like that.
So, and he's earned that. He's really from day one in practice, he's done a really good job, and he's a really good center field free safety, and goes and gets the ball when it's in the air, and he's just a young pup. I mean, he has so much room for growth just with reps. It's going to happen, but for what he's doing so far, really happy for him. And his dad was a great football player at Ursuline on the 2000 state championship team, and his grandpa Kenny coaches the West Catholic Crusaders, and actually coaching my son Patrick right now. And really happy for the family, because it's a football family, and Luke's doing a really good job for us.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you for joining us. This was our Week 8 edition of our Ursuline Football Coaches Corner. I was here with head coach Dan Reardon here tonight. Coach, good luck this Friday night against Villa Angela St. Joe's.
Sounds great. Thank you.